Hello, Mr. Ninja, can you hear me? Hello, hello.
Good day, sir.
Good day. Nice to hear your lovely voice. How are you on this fine day?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Well, what could be better than two grown ass adults way past their prime talking nerdy BS, ancient at this point shows about dicks, boobies, and just all around nudity and very unfavorable acts of affection uh, displayed.
Oh
And of
yeah.
course, there will be tears, there will be. Uh, there will be a lot of very spicy quotes. So before we start, a traditional disclaimer that this is an 18 plus rated podcast, and I hope that the initial screen that I'm showing here will tell you about the nature of this show.
This is the show that skirts the rules of an 18 plus rating. So,
I gotta say, like, it is kind of genius what they did, just creating these fake genitals and just being like, hey guys, we can still have show penises, but they're not real.
and ever since we've discovered that fact, I notice it so much.
Right?
Oh yeah, that's rubber.
I definitely noticed like during the first season, but I feel like they definitely perfected the. It's not CGI; it's like practical effects, right?
Yeah, it's a prosthetic.
And of course, we're not talking about those marble penises, but like the actual ones look kind of
Yep.
decent.
Yep.
Because let's be honest, penises are gross, and what they did was kind of artistic.
Yeah. Michelangelo would be jealous.
Oh yes, he would definitely approve. And look at us, like first few minutes of this podcast, and we're already talking about prosthetic penises.
Yep. Straight to the penis talk.
I mean, it's a very, very important subject when talking this lovely show, because there is a lot
Yep.
of them.
Oh yeah.
But let's get right into it. We have two freaking not episodes. I wish we had two episodes. We could spend like 2 hours just talking about two episodes because so much is going on. But we will be discussing the last two seasons. Of course, my intention was during the previous podcast to discuss all of the seasons, but we went on a bit of a rant. We definitely took our time, and eventually we realized that I unfortunately am a big dumbass, and I skipped the third season for some reason and went straight into the fourth one, and I missed out on the, I would say, it wasn't like the most important season, but it definitely provided a lot of character development for some key characters. We will discuss all of it, but I feel like of all the seasons I missed out on, it was probably the least impactful one I could have missed out on. Wouldn't you say?
Really? I feel like the fourth season kind of becomes really empty without it.
Well, yes, but I mean, you can kind of, or at least that's what I did. I kind of filled in the blanks, through just the context of what's going on. Oh, I guess, this lady must be. Actually, we will get into it, but for the entirety of season 4, I had no idea that the lady Crixus was with was actually like Nevia. The one
Yeah.
from season 1. I thought it was someone else because she was played by a different actress.
Yeah, absolutely. And unless you see her in season 3, then yeah, it's
Mhm.
very easy to be like, oh, I guess they picked up another one.
Yeah, we will get into it, but you might be right. Like in certain aspects, yes, this was a very key season. Definitely provided a lot of character development, explained a lot of things, why they were the case in season 4. But I still am glad that I didn't miss out like on the first one or the second one. I mean, can you imagine if I started like with this season and then just went straight for the fourth one and was like, oh wow, who's Spartacus?
Yeah. Like I mean, I guess to be honest, you could watch season 1 and season 4
Like Star
and,
Wars style.
and basically know
That would be funny.
everything. Like you'd lose the fleshing out of the characters and the real impact moments of it, but you would know the story if you watched season 1 and 4.
Oh, definitely. Safe travels and enjoy your holiday. Indeed, indeed. Definitely. I am definitely glad that we managed to split this podcast into two parts and that I had a chance to both watch this season I missed out on and to, of course, rewatch season 4 because how could I not? Like, it all made so much more sense now that I knew would happen last season.
Yep. Yep. And you probably get a bit more of a feeling for the characters.
Oh, yes. I gotta say, Gannicus, no longer my least favorite gladiator.
Yep. I figured that might happen with season 3.
I definitely connected much more with him. But yeah, let's go through this presentation just like last time, and let's start with season 3, the one I missed out on. Sir, just like last time, you are the archivist, you are the knowledge keeper of everything that is Spartacus. Why don't you give us like a little overview of what happened in this season? Like, where did we end last season? What was the main motive of this season, and where did we kind of end up?
So season 3, probably at this point, covered the most ground. Season 1 and season 2, compared to the rest of the series, were very slow and they covered smaller portions of time. When we first get into season 3, you're looking at basically right after they've escaped from Bariadis's Ludus. They're now hiding in the sewers in Capua still, and they're just doing small raids on the Romans to kind of get some payback and keep themselves fed and start building up their supply of weapons and armor to keep everyone alive.
Indeed, it is important to mention that they are heavily outnumbered, they are low on resources, and they are essentially killed on sight like animals.
Yeah, they have like maybe a dozen gladiators and then a bunch of house slaves, and they're being hunted by Romans. No one of any huge merit at that point. They were only being hunted by mercenaries, no actual Roman legionnaires or anything.
Mhm. But
Uh,
they are kind of noticing that although they are in a very disadvantageous position, they need to keep low profile. Otherwise, they risk or they put themselves into a risk of raising too much ruffus that could make them a target in the Rome itself. It's not like they dispatch like the entirety of their armies, all their legions. They are still like a minor inconvenience at this point.
and that's where, right in the very beginning of it, we start to see,
Hello,
even though
Alvaro.
Crixus and Spartacus are now very fond of each other, they're brothers, blah, 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 everybody rejoice. They're still butting heads a little bit because in the first or second episode of the season, um, Spartacus carves Glaba's name into the corpse of one of the mercenaries that this punk kid is sending after him.
Yeah, basically, this is still not Spartacus, the scourge of Rome, the one who wants to free all the slaves. This is still Spartacus in his mindset of eye for an eye, vengeance. I want to kill this motherfucker who, robbed me of my wife, who enslaved me, who just turned me into this. He still wants his revenge on both Gaius and his wife. It'll be fun.
Exactly. And we've got Crixus, who at the same time is looking for information on Navia, who was, of course, carted off due to his affections, Crixus's affections towards Navia, that Lucretia discovered.
Indeed, indeed. I agree. Navia is a big doo-doo, and she wasn't a big doo-doo in season 1 and 2. I kind of liked her, but starting from season 3, I don't know. It must be the actress. We will get into it, but yes, she's a very big part of the season. Just like Spartacus's wife, whose name I totally forgot, was
Sura.
Sarah. Yes, was
Yeah.
an extremely big, I would say, motivator for Spartacus. Navia is basically dead for Crixus.
Yeah. They have no idea what happened. She was carted off, and he's basically moving through the slums of Capua looking for information, trying to beat it out of anyone he can find who might have it.
Indeed, indeed. And while they're doing so, they are occasionally like freeing more slaves and kind of realizing, how powerful they are. But it is still like an early uprising. Not all the slaves are actually joining their cause. Some of them are even, I would say, so psychologically trained that they would rather defend their masters instead of putting themselves in such a dangerous position, which was kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, that comes a little bit later when they move away from Capua, when they start freeing house slaves, because of course the the varying levels of care for slaves created dynamics. So in some houses, the slaves were actually treated well enough that they enjoyed their lives. They couldn't have even had this good of a life being back home.
Mhm. Yeah, let's all remember that life kind of sucked in the antiquity, and you basically were a very happy person if you had a shelter and food, and even as slaves, you could have gotten that.
And as a high enough ranked slave with a rich enough master, you lived better than even a common Roman citizen.
Oh yes, and we will see that on season 4, like what these high end slaves, what they could achieve.
Yep. Yeah, the gladiator owned by Crassus.
Oh, we will get to him.
Yep, yep. um, and then so what do we have after that? Like the direction, of course, if we're going to go over the basics of it before getting into too many details, they eventually have to move away from Capua, um, and they end up on Mount Vesuvius, which is actually probably one of the most famous landmarks in Roman history.
It is indeed true.
Um, and that actually the so that's where the speed of the season comes into play. Is in season one, of course, you're in the Ludus, and a little bit of Capua. Season two, the Ludus and Capua. Season three, you go through Capua. You've got the arena. You've got the land in between Vesuvius and there. You've got some of the houses to the south of Capua. You've got Neapolis. Like they cover a lot of ground in this season.
Indeed, and yet they are also still in Ludus, in Batiatus Ludus. But this time, it's not the gladiators who occupy it; it's the main
Yeah.
bad guys who just decided to use it as their home base.
Yeah, so of course, after Spartacus carves Glaba's name into one of these mercenaries, well, word gets back to the Senate, and now the Senate, one of which is Ilithia's father, Glaba's wife's father, he's pissed because now Spartacus's name is still attached to his daughter's husband's name, and this guy's a failure in his eyes anyway. Never
Yes,
wanted him marrying his daughter, but she begged and pleaded. And so the Senate says, well, Glaba, go clean up your mess. So Glaba rolls back into Capua, makes home in the Ludus, and puts his soldiers in there.
yes, a very unceremonious return of Glaba back into Capua. He wanted to be anywhere else but here, and he made sure that his lovely wife knew all about it. And their relationship definitely, I would say, not what it used to be. They are kind of at each other's throats, and of course, we already saw it like in season 1. Her father, the very politically influential senator, he was never a fan of Glaba. And this time around, he's truly not a fan. And as the season goes, we will kind of see these political machinations and how it all turns out. But what would you did you enjoy like this different side of this show, Spartacus? I know that we got a certain taste of that from like Batiatus and Lucretia, but like this time around we're really like delving deep into the Roman families and these intricate relationships and how they all kind of hate each other and try to climb these social ranks.
Yeah. Like I definitely got into the show and loved it because of the gladiator lifestyle, the ludus, and the politics that surrounded that. But I think it was an interesting dynamic with everything, how they slowly built up the rest of the politics. Like in season 1 and 2, you learn a little bit about a Lanista and the Magistrate, a little bit about a Praetor, or no, not the Praetor, he was a Legatus at the time,
Indeed. Everyone has kind of
right?
these lower ranks, they're kind of like little captains, of these armies. They are sent by much higher up influential people. You occasionally see those people, but it's like, the mayors or governors of towns. You will never see like literal like emperor or anything like that. That comes later.
Yeah, and then so we come into season 3, and one of the first things we notice, when Gaius is being talked to in Rome is that he's freshly minted as a praetor now. So he's moved up and he's getting into the Senate. And then, of course, he's surrounded by other praetors who look down on him, of course, because he's the rookie in the street and he's got failures attached to his name. He's got ancestral failures, as they mention at one of the games that they have in season 3. Gaius's ancestor failed to stop Hannibal from attacking Rome.
I mean, can you imagine if you, as a Roman, were basically blamed for, your ancestors not being able to stop like one of the scariest freaking, uh, most imposing like
Yeah,
opponents of Rome ever in history, like the literal bane of Roman existence. It's like, well,
and
your
then
ancestor couldn't stop him.
and it's you'll notice. I don't know if it was the writers or what, but it's always the women, right? So somebody mentions, "Oh, we're having these games to show honor to the ones who beat Hannibal," and this guy turns around and says, "Oh, Glaba, wasn't it your ancestor who failed to stop Hannibal from crossing these mountains?" And the wife turns around, "It was."
Yes, she just at this point, like, she's such a dick to him. It's kind of great.
But here's a question for you because it pops up in the first episode, I believe, almost the exact same scenario. Coming into season 3, is Alithia the most annoying woman?
She definitely got more annoying than attractive. Like, speaking strictly unprofessional, I no longer found anything attractive about her. Like, during season 1, she was like this, oh, she's kind of hot, but also kind of a dick. It's like, this crazy energy that she has about her. It's like, oh, wow, I would totally hang out with her. But, like, this time around on season 3, I would just stay as far away from her as possible. Like, we know that she's essentially a psychopathic murderer, and if she sees someone she could easily dispatch of, she just has uh, no remorse, and she would stop at nothing to get what she wants.
And it's no longer an attractive, intriguing level of insanity. It's
Yeah,
it's too much crazy at this point.
indeed,
But
indeed.
if you take a look at the picture that you have on screen, the girl in the top right corner,
Oh, we'll get to her.
yeah, for me, she took the trophy. She became the most annoying woman in the series.
That's so funny because for me she became the most attractive one.
Really?
Yes.
Well, the reason I bring it up is I think it was in the first episode. Yeah, when
No, no,
Spartacus
no.
and Agron basically kill all those mercenaries of the brother that's standing there with her. She pipes up right at the beginning when somebody says, "Oh, we're having these games to calm the people and blah blah blah, and Spartacus will be caught soon." And she chimes in, "Oh, that'll be a great comfort to the 8 mercenaries that my brother hired that are dead this morning, killed by Spartacus." Like, they're always just jabbing and poking and stirring the pot for their own entertainment. Like, you can see it on
Oh
her
yeah.
face every time she does that.
Roman women are just the best. Like, they are so sarcastic, they are so bright with their remarks. It's wonderful to see.
Just like witty and evil and
Hmm.
bored.
Yeah. All of them are actors, like, at this point. It's not just Alithia.
Yeah.
But speaking of the most annoying characters, how did you find Lucretia? And
Um,
that whole angle of her being essentially the seer of the gods, being the priestess, and what did you like that whole angle?
she had a very dynamic season. But if we're going to go specifically for that angle, yeah, I appreciated it. Like, in in her mind, I feel like she saw what was her only opportunity, and it was a bulletproof opportunity. Like, it was either it's not going to work and she's dead, or it's going to work and she's going to be invincible.
Hmm. Yeah, it was definitely a very smart angle on her part. It was an interesting way to still keep her in the show and relevant. I didn't expect her to return, especially not like that, but it definitely worked. At least at the beginning, we gotta remember that these people were still heavily religious, and although we occasionally see them like joking about, "Hey, Jupiter can suck my cock. I don't believe in him," it is actually still something that these people cling on to. Hey, it's not raining. Well, it must be the gods being displeased with us. We gotta go to a priestess and like light a candle because that's how things worked back then. So
Especially for the Romans.
yeah.
Like, you notice it a lot more among the gladiators, whom none of are Roman. They don't they don't feel the same way, but the Romans are very superstitious in the
Mhm.
fact that everything is happening because of the gods.
Indeed, indeed. And they would rather have someone like this underneath their roof working for them instead of potentially risking the wrath of the gods.
And that was the biggest thing, is she was effectively a conduit where she would say things along, "The gods want you to do this," or "The gods want you to do that," and of course the Romans listened, because the scariest thing back then was to have the ire of a Roman god.
Mhm. Yeah, we often don't really attribute too much power to these Roman gods, like compared to the Greek ones, for example, that are a bit more mainstream. But yeah, Romans definitely were hugely religious, and I'm glad that this show always reminded us of it.
And they made sure to show the contrast as well. Like, for example, the gladiators, they didn't have very much to do with the gods. They would speak of them, lightly and mildly, but it wasn't a huge driving force for them. But you would go to the Roman side, and it is a huge driving force. It's shown everywhere. It's spoken of everywhere. The ceremonies are everywhere. Um, they did a really good job of showing the separation in the cultures, even though it felt like it was one country or culture in the beginning. But you could start to see it to develop, especially once they had their freedom, that they thought very differently and very independently of the Romans.
Mhm. Another character that made an unexpected comeback this season was, of course, Asher, our lovable Syrian friend, who, of course, was the one who ensured that Lucretia survived. At first, I didn't really know why. Why would he bother? Why would he do that? She was his domina. Why wouldn't he just let her die? Why wouldn't he go elsewhere, anywhere else, and just kind of like resuscitate his life? But as the season progressed, it became increasingly obvious that he harbors feelings towards her. Very, very nasty feelings that
I'm
go for it.
I'm not even sure that he actually had feelings for Lucretia so much as he obsessed over becoming Badiatus.
Yeah, I guess that's right. Those feelings that, well, I call them feelings, but it was mostly, as you pointed out, the desire to essentially become a Dominus and for her to call him Dominus.
Yeah, and it
Was
was
in
it almost appeared as if it wasn't
definitely do
even
it.
just he wanted to be a Dominus, it was he wanted to be Badiatus. It was like a creepy Stockholm syndrome sort of thing.
Yeah, and she, of course, held Badiatus in the highest possible regard, and she was disgusted. And again, this is a show that often delves into some very uncomfortable topics and situations, and the whole dynamic between Asher and Lucretia was kind of gross. So, if that is something that you do not really want to see in your favorite entertainment, definitely be on a lookout for that and skip those scenes because there was a lot of them, and it was very uncomfortable, at least for me to watch.
Yeah, it was definitely a tool that they used to show the shift in the power dynamic. I mean, they pointed it out very point blank with words,
Mm-hmm.
when he said, "I am not your slave to put hands on anymore," and then proceeded to show her physically.
Yeah.
Um, so it's as dark as it is, and it's not fun to talk about or watch. It was a necessary step in it, but it also
Mm-hmm.
just showed the depravity of Asher.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I brought up this point in my presentation that the villains, at least in this season, are absolute MVPs in my opinion. Like they portrayed the bad, evil characters in a way where they just were absolute scumbags, and there was very little redeeming in terms of redeeming qualities about them, and you absolutely cheered for them to get their comeuppance.
Oh yeah,
Like of all the seasons, like there was no doubt that Gaius is a prick, that Asher is a prick, and even Lucretia to a certain degree is a manipulative witch, and of course Ilithia. Like all of these people, all of these Romans, just absolute bastards who deserve nothing but swift death.
yep,
And that is one of my favorite things about this season overall. You know, these villains just getting their comeuppance.
yeah. And I mean, even when they start heading to the villas, you start to see a really quick, almost montage of
Oh yeah,
various levels of bastardry among the aristocracy of the Romans.
indeed. I feel like great power comes with great depravity in Rome. The more powerful
And
you
it was,
became, the more of a asshat you became.
yeah, and I mean, you can see it based like in Roman culture, you can see it based on the myths that they have about their gods. Like for them, striving to be the gods was their way of being the best that they could be. But when you take a look at the stories of their gods, their depravity is far more extreme than you could ever fathom for a human.
Indeed, so no wonder they are basically trying to kind of relive those depravities and yeah, almost make them proud.
And that's exactly it. When they get those levels of wealth, they need to show it in excess in the most disgusting and vile ways possible because that's how they show how close they are to a god.
Mhm.
Because Sudius.
Speaking of depravities, there was one scene in the show, one crazy plan that involved burning down the arena of Capua and killing like hundreds of people who were just there
Yep.
cheering. And of course, in the most, I would say, the funniest possible CGI I've ever seen. It was just
Yeah.
so
It
weird.
was it was one of those weird moments where everything about it was amazing and awe-striking, and then the terrible CGI happened, and the scene was still there for me. It didn't manage to take
Uh,
everything away, but that was some bad CGI. Like, you would have done better with some painted miniatures
Indeed.
falling down.
Or just like, let the smokes kind of envelope over the arena and let those people run away. Like they didn't have to like,
Yeah.
kill
I
them all.
yeah, especially, like, they definitely didn't do any research on the engineering of that
Yeah.
structure, but
It was
I respect it.
it was as if someone pulled down the foundations of a Conan home and those people just fell to their death, because of gravity.
Absolutely, absolutely. There was no historical accuracy to how the Romans would have constructed that structure. It looked like it was a scaffold.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like overall, I would say a very interesting season that provided a lot of character development. That was probably my favorite part about it. I very much enjoyed the comeuppance that the bad guys got, and of course, the main characters, both old and new, which we will discuss right now. Is there anything else that you would like to point out, like in general, about the season that, for example, surprised you, that you didn't expect, that you very much enjoyed, or something, for example, behind the scenes that you know about the season?
Uh nope, not without getting into specific characters or events.
In that case,
Um
let's go for it.
yeah, I think we covered the majority of it.
Let's talk about the pineapple, or as I call him, pineapple. He's, of course, Agron. For some reason,
Yep.
every time I see this man, he just reminds me of a pineapple. It's probably the haircut that he had in like season 1 when we first met him, but like I just do you like him as a character? Do you enjoy like watching him on the scene, or do you find him annoying?
In the beginning, I found him very annoying, probably because I was a Crixus fan.
Yes,
I
shit
liked
eating
the
Gaul.
Gauls, so yeah, fucking Gauls.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I feel like he was the one where they showed a lot more character development, especially going into the 4th season, than with most people. Like I think he actually had some of the biggest roles in season 3. And of course, this is where we start getting into the Germans, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
The Germans, they
east
ruin
of the
everything.
east of the Rhine, right? The Rhine being a river that runs through Germany.
Germania.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, with Agron, he he was clever. Um, he was a bit more reserved than the others. Um,
He's the reasonable one, while Crixus is the no nonsense, let's destroy everything.
and very much even more reasonable and tactful than Spartacus most of the time. Like Spartacus
He-
has the strategies and the leadership, but Agron was kind of like the sober voice of reason even for Spartacus.
yes, he's the grounding factor of this trio that eventually became a quadrio, but we will get into it.
Yep.
Me personally, I actually agree. Like at first, I found him very annoying, but at the same time, I did enjoy his little relationship with that little guy, as they called him. I really enjoyed that little story. You know how he just wanted to at first kill Spartacus, and eventually he became like a trusted ally. And I did enjoy like how him and Agron first
Tiberius slash Nazir.
yes, how they got into like each other, but I actually had the exact different opinion in the season afterwards. I started liking Agron because he became a bit more reasonable. He became a bit more trusted by Spartacus, and when Crixus kept losing his shit, he was the one who just pushed against him. But at the same time, the relationship with the little guy eventually started annoying me because it was like, oh, there's this other guy, the pirate, and it's just too much drama for me, you know.
Yeah, I was exactly the same. Once it got into the jealousy and love triangle and
Oh,
stuff,
so annoying.
I was like, okay, every one of the other heroes has been pulled down by a relationship at some
Yeah.
point, and that's been their antagonist for their story.
Just
Can
have
you
a
just have one character who doesn't have that as their
yeah.
driving antagonist?
Just have a freaking threesome and get over it with it, you know? Just be done with it.
Or kill the pirate? Like, how many people have you guys killed for doing less at this point in time?
Yeah.
Even though I love the pirates.
Oh, we will get to the pirates and to the fact that you can never trust them.
um,
Threesome heralds.
so there's one scene that I would have to say about Agron that um, you'll probably remember almost right away, that probably smoothed a lot of stuff over and made me go, holy shit, Agron is a badass, as is Spartacus, but we already knew that. And that was, of course, with Sedulus. Do you want to go over that, or is that waiting for a bit?
Talk to me about Sedulus because I have no idea who
Okay.
it is.
Oh, he was the really big German.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Oh my god, yeah. I loved that character. He was like so boisterous and such a breath of fresh air.
And at the same time, such a sack of shit.
Yes.
So, can I go over that event now, or is
Go for
that
it. Go
being
for it.
okay? So, during the season, of course, Agron pulls his stunt where he sneaks a ship of his own people back into the camp. So Spartacus puts him on the task of finding a ship um, of slaves, fighting men that they can free, and bringing them into their fold to bolster their ranks and start to have an army. Um, what he doesn't tell anybody is he finds the ship that's full of Germans. He makes sure it's Germans. Um,
He wanted to balance out the
the Gauls.
majority of Gauls.
There's too many Gauls, and he doesn't like it because they're shit-eating Gauls that can't be trusted. So they free these people, and at this point in time, Navia is back with them. We'll probably go over that later, so I won't get into it. But um, Navia has been roughly handled by many men at this point at the hands of Batiatus and his scheming. And Crixus is trying to comfort her and make her feel comfortable again, sort of thing, right? That's an arc that's going on
Yeah, he was very
now.
sweet. I really enjoyed Grixis this season.
Absolutely. Now, one of the Germans who come back, Crixus is already pissed off because it's a bunch of Germans and they don't believe that these guys are going to follow Spartacus. They're following Agron and they're for themselves and all that.
Yeah, a lot of inner
Well,
turmoil within the faction of our rebels.
yeah. So they're having some celebrations one night. They've got a little bit of wine on them. They're relaxing. They're eating. They caught a big meal because the Germans went out hunting. Um, this very large German who's already proven he's very physically capable because they've been fighting and wrestling all day in sport. Um, he corners Navia away from everyone and effectively lays hands on her. Um, but Agron witnesses this and comes running in and tries to choke this guy out. But this guy just starts beating the shit out of Agron. And Crixus sees this and laughs. He's like, good, maybe they'll kill each other. I don't like either of these guys. And then Navia comes walking out, her lips bleeding. And she says, Crixus. And he looks over and you see his face like he's just, boom, he goes from 0 to 100, no questions asked. And she says, sedulous. And Crixus just goes flying in and starts
Yes.
kicking the shit out of this guy. Now Agron's being hit, so Nasir jumps in. This little Syrian who likes Agron jumps in and starts beating up some Germans, and there's full out brawling. And of course, Spartacus comes in out of nowhere when Sedulus pulls a sword and goes to kill Agron. And Spartacus blocks it, has a quick sword fight, and cuts the front half of Sedulus's face
Oh
off.
my god, yes. They just they love these close-ups on like heads being slashed off and like faces, being falling apart.
And his brain falling
Yeah.
out.
Guts like spilling over. But yeah, that scene was absolute pandemonium and I loved every single thing about it.
Oh, just that moment where like you can see Navy is like, I'm about to unleash the dog.
Mhm.
Crixus. Sedulus!
You absolutely mastered the voice of Crixus. It's like this. It's great.
It's yeah, he goes from that gravelly low talking when he's generally talking, but then when he yells, it's like he commands attention now.
Mm-hmm.
Capua, shall I begin?
All right. That's it for the Pineapple Man. Let's now discuss Mira, also known as Best Girl, or at least for me, because I always liked her. Ever since season 1, I thought that she just was. I'm a shipper in these shows, and I just thought that her and Spartacus should hold hands and kiss under a cherry tree and just live happily ever after. That's, of course, something that I knew would never happen, but I just kept hoping for it until, of course, she was murdered. So, which I knew would happen because I saw season 4 and she wasn't there. Damn it! But yeah, talk to me, sir. How did you find her? Was her character annoying? Was she just one of the devices for Spartacus to yet again remind us that he's in love with his wife and this is just a little something? He cannot fall in love. His heart is filled with void and she can comfort it, but she cannot fill it.
She was kind of a bit of everything. She's one that I almost never found annoying. I actually have a note written specifically about that.
It's
But
amazing.
she was great for story, she was great for interaction, and she was great for character development as well, especially when you see I can't remember her name, but Nasir's blonde friend.
Oh yeah.
Um she was basically trying to whore herself out around camp to have a position in the camp to make it so that somebody else would take care of her and do her work for her.
Yeah, basically what Bifan did in my community.
And so Mira, however, was the one that was saying, like, "Do it yourself.
I'm
Make
killing
something
people.
of yourself. Be stronger," right? And this blonde was still always accusing her of being like, "Oh, well, the only reason you're anything is because you're sleeping with Spartacus." Well, no, she's advising Spartacus, she's taking care of other people, she starts training how to fight, and she's always pushing everyone to be better, not just herself, not just Spartacus, which she was doing with Spartacus. He even mentioned she was very much the reason he kept his sanity several times.
Mhm. I
Um,
never thought that she was just like a pretty face besides Spartacus to just have like random sex scenes with. I always thought that she was someone who even was the voice of reason for him a lot of the time. I liked how she knew what her position was. I like how she wanted more, but she knew that it's kind of impossible. And she, instead of like causing a scene, she just embraced her position and didn't push on Spartacus. That was definitely like one of my favorite parts. I like how she applied herself to still excel at various things. I like how she became a badass freaking bow user that was so sharp and so effective.
yeah, and I mean that was exactly it. Is she she always thought she needed to be better, and she always wanted to be better. Um, Even back when she was just used as a tool in the house of Batiotus.
Indeed, indeed. And I just enjoyed her ever since season one, where she like pointed out, you know what you're asking for us to do, right? You're basically uh, sentencing all of us to death and every other slave in the house. Yet she still found it impossible to disagree with Spartacus and to not rebel, with him, not to help him.
Yeah, that was I mean, that was huge too. She she wasn't even really trying to guilt him. She was it was almost like she was just verifying, like, right, that we're going to die because of this. Like, we're gonna do it, but we're probably all going to die, and it's going to be your fault.
Hmm.
But then, yeah, she still jumped right on board and went to it. She was, of course, the one who facilitated getting the key so that people could get out.
Hmm. Now, Mr. Ninja, we need to talk about Elytia and Spartacus's sex scene from season one, where that scene made a cameo on season three. I didn't expect it, but Alethea, of course, became pregnant. We saw it at the beginning of the season, and the baby became quite an important story device in this season. Of course, it was supposed to be the child of Gaius and Elytia. Of course, Gaius was very happy about it, but eventually Elytia kind of, mostly being constantly nagged by her father, the important senator, was like, Gaius is shit, but there is this fancy other senator that, has just much better standing in Rome and would be much better son to me and much better husband to you. Why don't you just basically abort your pregnancy and go dissolve your marriage and marry this guy? Just so freaking cruel.
And that was Alithia's doing
Mm.
because her father was actually against it until Lucretia slept with him and conned him into it.
Oh yes, that is true. I forgot. I don't think I forgot about it. I just didn't want to remind
At,
myself of that scene.
well, and at that point, it was really starting to get tangled. It was showing the Roman politics at that point. It was layer upon layer upon layer of subterfuge and guile at this point.
Oh yeah. But to make things even more complicated, when of course Elytia was captured, she suddenly came up with this bombshell that maybe the child is Spartacus's. Maybe because the timing kind of worked. Maybe it was because of that prearranged sex scene in the House of Batiatus, where there was the switcheroo and those two sworn enemies actually, banged, and maybe the child is Spartacus's. Do
Well,
you
and she
think
was a sorry.
Do you think there is a chance that the child actually could be of Spartacus?
Yeah, when she's talking about it later on in the season, in confidence behind closed doors, with Lucretia, when they actually do trust each other and like each other, she very much says that even though she knows it's the bastard child of Spartacus, that she's still growing to love the child. So she admitted as much that she really does believe it's Spartacus's child.
Crazy. Well, I was just like, oh, I'm kind of done with this nonsense. This is just weird. I don't like kids, being hurt. Of course, IRL mainly, but also in movies. It just makes me queasy. I don't like it. And
Yeah,
this whole. Uh, I feel like Mira was actually warranted in what she was about to do, and I did kind of like that decision, despite my personal feelings about kids being hurt, or of course pregnant moms. I absolutely understood her reasoning that led her to the decision, what she was about to do, to basically take out the trash and finally rid us of this manipulative bastard that was just no good to anyone at this point. And I would be happy if she actually slit her freaking throat.
absolutely. And it was, you could see the pieces falling into place, how she was puzzling her way through it. Is she's the one who encourages Spartacus and keeps driving him forward even when he feels like he's done, he's failed, there's nowhere else to go. So when Alithia came into the camp via Gannicus through that fun little buddy Trump. um, she sees Spartacus rolling backwards again to, oh, well, I can't do this. Oh, no, this is happening. She's having a kid, but my wife was never allowed to have a kid. And Spartacus was going back towards his emo phase. So
Oh
Mira,
yeah,
of course, had to prevent that.
indeed, indeed. And I like how she knew that she was risking everything she had with Spartacus to essentially do the right thing for him, to spare him of further suffering. Or at
Yeah.
least that was my
And
interpretation.
And I mean, we'll never know whether it was for herself or whether it was for Spartacus or whether it was for the greater good of everyone. But I mean, I still feel like it was for Spartacus
Hmm.
because she was willing to let everyone die, helping him kill Batiotus.
Yes. And then, of course, she died, as was obvious that she was going to. And it was very much a brutal death. And it was very sad seeing Spartacus just wrapping her in those thickets and just not even being able to give her a proper funeral. That was just very, very sad.
Even though it was very much him dodging was the reason she died.
Yes.
Like, I'm not going to say the man should take an axe and die. He was, as a fighter, he would be thinking that, well, she's going to dodge too, or
Hmm.
he wasn't aware that it was her behind him or whatever. But
Yeah, it was a brutal death, like with the axe. That was just
oh
freaking.
yeah,
Oh,
axe straight to the chest. Like there's no patching that one up.
yeah, she went out the warrior's death, that's for sure.
Yep.
Even though she was a filthy bow user.
Got her glorious death.
Hmm. Let's talk about Gaius Claudius Glaber, or as I always kept calling him, Mr. Collins from Pride and Prejudice, because I was 100% convinced that this actor was the same one. He just got a bit
Oh
buffed. Have you seen Pride and Prejudice?
no, I haven't.
It's absolutely wonderful movie. I absolutely love it, adore it, and I was just 100% convinced that this actor was the same as this one. And they tell me I'm crazy and that these actors don't look remarkably similar.
They are very similar. It's like his cousin or his brother or something.
They are not related at all, but in my head it was the same actor, and I just kept calling him Mr. Collins whenever I forgot his name. Also, I always thought it was Glaba and not Glaber.
That so I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but several people will have different ways of saying people's names throughout the series. And this guy was the one who was abused the most by it because it was Glaber, Glaba.
Glabius.
Like, yeah, I feel like his name changed several times.
It's basically like in your traditional RP setting, where people just make up names for people because they forget.
Yep. Well, and it was, I don't know if it was something that they did on purpose, but for example, like I think it was Asher who said it as Glaber and Glaba at two different times.
Mm-hmm. So, how did you find our lovely Praetor? He was quite a prominent antagonist, basically the main one of this season, who was constantly after Spartacus, and Spartacus was the pain in his the thorn in his butt, and he was very elusive up until the Vesuvius scene, of course, where they finally had Spartacus and his rascals trapped on the volcano, and Glaba was just camping downstairs safely, waiting for them to starve out.
Yep, and this was again where Alethea throws her hat in the ring,
Mm-hmm.
and no, I want to leave now, so you deal with this now. So Glaba for me was, I mean, he was the true Roman Boy Scout, right?
Oh yeah.
Until of course we got to certain things, but he was, I mean, he was a smart tactician, he was a smart politician, he was a talented orator. His speeches set him apart from everyone else multiple times. Like, I think his name was Alvinius, or uh, whichever the new guy was that Alithia was chasing after.
Oh yeah.
Um, he was charismatic and he could pull people in one on one sort of thing, but Glaba would make a speech and get a crowd going. So like it showed that he was somebody who was going to rise through the Senate and the ranks and all of that if it wasn't for his wife and Spartacus.
Yes, I think that he definitely had an evil side to him that absolutely contributed to his success. His deviousness, his, I would say, resourcefulness that kind of dictated him to hire, Asher to help become his tool. Uh, but at the same time, he had this interesting weakness to him that constantly kept getting him into trouble. And I would say one of the main embodiments of that weakness was Elithia, his wife. She got him into all of this mess. And she was the one who kind of brought him on his knees multiple times throughout the season and just forced him to lose his shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She basically was the source of all of his suffering
Yeah.
from season 1 to season 3.
I just imagine Glaba with a wife that Crassus had, the one that he kept cheating on. I feel like he could have
Yeah.
made it into like a freaking imperator.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. His shrewd maneuvering, his talking, and I mean, I don't even feel like he had an evil side so much as people were always pulling him to it. Like Asher and Lucretia were the ones who manipulated him into trusting Asher.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then of course, Alithia's maneuvering was what made him kill her father. Like every evil choice he made was basically he had been shit on for being the good guy for so long that he
Yeah.
finally took enough and fought back.
And I liked that about him. I liked that he just wanted, to have like a normal marriage. He just wanted to climb the ranks. But all these people, all these schemers kind of forced him, forced his hand.
Yeah, he was just trying to do good at his job.
Yeah,
Like, he just wants to go to work, get his stuff done, come home, kick up his feet in his toga, and have a beer.
exactly. He's the routine guy, He just wanted to be a normal freaking moderately achieving Roman. And all these people freaking destroyed him.
Yep. I mean, if you want to look at a metaphor of it, it's he's basically the metaphor for how corruption tore Rome apart.
Oh, yes. Well, speaking of beloved characters being absolutely torn apart, we
My
have to
boy.
talk about Animeus and how they massacred my boy. Ah,
Okay. I mean, this so yeah, when we did the last part of the podcast, I was saying like this is the reason for watching season 3. you,
I
you just don't know enough about Gannicus and Animaeus.
I just wanted to believe that Animeus, like, went back to his home country and just lived happily ever after, found a new wife, and just everything worked out for him. He was like, I am leaving this life behind, and screw you guys, I'm going home.
But that technically is what happened.
Oh no, don't even get me started on that. No, just look at the pictures. He didn't have a happy ending, sir.
Yes, he did. Come on. So
We cannot mention Animeus without mentioning Gannicus. I don't even think I have him here. Just, I think am still salty about what happened to Animeus, and that's why I didn't even like put this little character bio about Gannicus. But talk to me about Animeus and Gannicus, because we cannot talk about one without the other.
yeah, they're their own story, all encapsulated in itself, really. So from the beginning, when Gannicus saves Animeus from the arena, we see first off, Animeus gets told by Asher while being tortured, which is the left picture, um, that Gannicus and his wife banged. And now Animeus is like, well, you're full of shit. But Asher basically gives enough evidence that it's irrefutable. Now, lo and behold, Animeus is captured and he's going to be killed in the gladiator battles. That's lucky for him, but
That's what he
shitty
always
at the
wanted,
same
right?
time. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
literally
Because
what
he
he
even
attempted. He attempted to kill himself in the pits
in the
because he
pits,
was ashamed. He lost his honor.
and we see that through his backstory, where the reason he became a champion was because he loved Daddy Batiatus
Hmm.
so much that that was his purpose, was to be a champion for Batiatus.
And we
Um,
saw it like on the prequel season. And I'm so glad that they still tapped into this dynamic between Badiadus' father and Animeus. How they became this friendly, how much respect was among them.
and Batiatus showing his belief in how, like the Batiatus Senior showing his belief in how champions are made and what his style of raising up the Ludus was.
Hmm. There was a beautiful quote that Daddy Badiadus shared with Animeus. It was something along those lines of uh, don't fight for me. Like, there is no reason to fight unless you have a reason. Something, to give you purpose to stay alive. It cannot be me, it cannot be your dominus.
Yeah,
Yet, in the end, he did kind of use that as his primary motivator. It was almost like Daddy Badiadus wanted to give him a choice, wanted to see if he makes the right one, and he eventually did it. He fully dedicated himself, his life, towards this cause. It was everything he ever knew, everything he ever loved, and everything he ever wanted to do in the future. And when Spartacus rose against the House of Batiatus, he was conflicted. Like, he knew that there was some shit going on that he couldn't get behind, that was very dishonorable. But at the same time, this was everything for him. And he was lost. And I liked that he struggled, finding his way. And he didn't enjoy Spartacus at first. He even campaigned almost against this uprising. They should all, leave, lay down their weapons, and go home. home.
yeah, he showed up in the sewer and said, "You're all going to die. Like they're after you. Bigger problems are coming now, right?" And then, of course, um, oh, where was I going to go with that? Yeah. So, and then of course it's Gannicus who shows up on the sands because the magistrate has sought Gannicus to kill these gladiators because he's the most honored gladiator who's ever come out of Capua. And Gannicus wants to go do it because Animeus is his brother, so he thinks, and he deserves a glorious death. And the only person who can really do it is Gannicus because, well, I mean, these guys will just chew up and spit out everything else that gets thrown at them.
Hmm. And I loved Gannicus' role in this season. He basically showed up like the middle of it, just although free, still very much a gladiator who is just a mercenary who is hired by these nobles to become the attraction. And I was just so glad that they introduced him as such, and that he was basically always short on money because after every single one of his winnings, he just spent it all on hookers and booze.
Well, and it was, you could see um, what it was. Like, it was the same thing as when you see the end of the prequel season where they offered him everything to stay and keep fighting and become rich, but he had to leave because of everything that he had done to Animeus and Melita and all of that stuff happening. And when he comes back in season 3, you can still see the weight of it. Is he's doing what he has to get coin so that he can get himself drunk and buy prostitutes so that he can keep himself distracted from feeling the weight of everything that's happened.
Yeah. And I like, although I hated, that this love triangle became a thing. I just wanted Animeus to be happy with his wife. I didn't want Gannicus to rear his ugly penis into their lovely relationship. It became a thing, and it eventually kind of grew on me. Speaking of ugly penises, I just so basically what I was trying to say before I was rudely interrupted. The storyline headed towards the inevitable clash of these characters in the arena, and that's of course when we encountered the massive CGI destruction and murder of all of these innocent people who were just watching the show. But I guess they were all Romans, so they
They're all
could fuck
Romans,
off and
yeah.
die.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And that's where the redemption arc begins, right? Is as much as Animeus is being through and he's suffering, like Asher's tortured him now, he's gonna die in a sense, but now the wound is opened up because Gannicus is there to kill him.
oh yeah,
But then it's sorry.
No, this season just was so rough for Animeus. He got so much shit to deal with, and like I just wanted him to be happy. I just wanted him to have a happy ending. I kind of wanted him to not forgive Gannicus, but to just have a moment. Here is what I was hoping for this season. The main thing I was hoping for was for Gannicus to have a chance to say, no, for Animeus to save Gannicus's life and to be like, brother, I forgive you. I will say hi, to Melita and we'll wait for you, or something like that. But they had to freaking poke his eye out and let him die in the most unceremonious way possible, I feel like.
What?
I didn't like the death scene. Talk to me. How did you find that whole death scene of Animeus?
So his eye got poked out in a previous fight.
Yeah.
With the Egyptian, right? That wasn't his death scene.
I know. And then he had his badass moment. But
so it was two parts, right? Because they kind of foreshadowed it a little bit when they had the drunken fights for everybody to bond. And of course, Gannicus and Animeus get put on the same side to face off against Agron and Crixus. And Gannicus is wasted at this point, of course. And says, if we fight as one, we can overcome them, brother. And Animeus is still like, I hope you die in a shallow grave. Fuck off.
yes.
But then during the fight, you see it. They start to have that synergy. They do the nod at the end. They take down Crixus because Crixus is just manhandling Gannicus at this point. But then when they start moving together, it happens, right? And then now we get to the last fight against Gaius, and desperate thing, Spartacus has come up with this plan that's going to save everybody again, motivated by his girlfriend's corpse.
Oh yeah, that's how I get all my battle ideas by watching my girlfriend's corpse.
She's still inspiring him from beyond the grave. But we see this. It's, even though it's a short moment, it was a really, really good cinematic scene where Animeus and Gannicus start moving together, fighting the Egyptian, who's being a huge pain in the ass for everybody at this point, right? But this is where I say the culmination of the redemption arc comes together. So they start maneuvering together, and you see them fighting in unison, and it's amazing. And then, bam, Animeus gets stabbed straight through the torso by this Egyptian, right?
Yeah.
And then Gannicus snaps, loses it. And this is when you see what I like to call serious Gannicus. It happens a few times in this series where suddenly he's not showboating anymore. It's like he loses that showmanship of his fighting, and the Egyptian gets his ass kicked. Like Gannicus is throwing kicks in the middle of a flurry of blows and just like crashes his sword straight at this guy's skull and shatters it for the final shot, right? And then they have their moment where they talk, and Animeus is like, hey, I forgive you. Like, we are brothers. I go to my wife's arms. We'll wait for you and greet you in the afterlife, brother.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a twofold thing for me because one, if it hadn't happened like that, then Animeus never would have found peace, right? Like he was determined to die and be in a completely separate place than his wife because she went to hell as far as he's concerned, right? But by going through the motions of it with Gannicus through the whole story, he found the ability to be like, hey, yeah, you know what? We live in shitty circumstances, and Gannicus never would have tried this if they didn't make him. And then when they made him, well, hey, he liked it.
And do not get me wrong, I
um,
did enjoy the serious side of Gannicus, and I always do. It is my favorite side. I dislike Gannicus only when he's, this drunk, blubbering idiot. He's just showboating. I just want him to
and
get his ass beat.
well, that's kind of um, what I felt like, right? Is we talk about the champions of House Batiardus and how they all had a purpose, right?
Mhm.
Animaeus was the House of Batiardus. Um, Crixus was to be a champion. Like Crixus maneuvered himself into the house because he heard the House of Batiardus made champions. That's why he started that fight
Oh yeah, he was still a
when
slave.
exactly he was a stonemason basically, right? He did the same thing. Um, Spartacus, same thing. He became a champion because he thought the gods wanted him to be a champion, and he was honoring his wife by suddenly listening to the gods, right? And then he survived that spear throw, and now he had faith that this is what he was supposed to do. He became a champion. Gannicus was the only champion that we meet who never actually had a purpose. He was just a really fucking good fighter.
And we will
um,
see that purpose being developed in season 4 thanks to Spartacus, which is one of my favorite parts about that scene. And of course, Gannicus's character development.
and really this death scene was that the hinge pin for that moment, in my opinion, was
Yeah.
you see it as soon as Animeus gets stabbed, boom, Gannicus is serious. He's got a purpose. He's pissed. Like his friend's life was just ended because his friend had a purpose of wanting to be free and wanting others to be free. And this is where Gannicus actually starts to take on the purpose. Because up until that point, he was just there because Animeus was there.
Yeah.
He wanted to make up with Animeus. After that, he was gone. He tried to leave twice.
Listen, that's all nice and all, but I just wanted more for Animeus. I didn't want him to get his fucking eye stabbed out of his
Oh, and
freaking
that
eye
was
socket. That was just so unnecessary to me. I was like, fuck you. Now you're just taking a piss. This stupid show breaking my heart here. And I just wanted him to. I just wanted someone to invent a bullet and throw it at Gannicus. And I wanted Animeus to jump in front of it and be like, ugh. I wanted that. And I didn't get it. And I was sad.
and that was one of the most brutal fight scenes too, where the Egyptian stabs him in the hand and then pushes it through his hand into his eye and then twists the knife.
Yeah. It's like,
Could
fuck
not get
you.
worse.
It's freaking Egyptians. I'm gonna be honest. For 2 episodes, I thought it was Barca. I thought they brought him back from the dead. It's just so similar to him. But then he opened his mouth and was like, "Oh, you're no Barca. Go back to freaking Egypt."
Well, just the huge forehead.
Yeah, the huge
That
caveman
thing was a
forehead.
brick wall. Yeah.
All right. Rest in peace, my favorite. This is madness guy from 300 that somehow grew on me so much throughout this damn show. But funnily enough, we're not done with him. He will make another appearance, and it will break my heart even further. It's just a little precursor of how much my heart was broken by this show.
I do have to give a precursor that I have about 10 minutes left. We might have to
Oh my,
do one more part.
no! All right.
I'm
We'll
so
finish.
sorry.
We'll finish this goddamn season 3 at least, and then we will reschedule for another podcast.
All right.
All right, Sepia. Yet another character that I 100% thought was from the movie Pride and Prejudice. I thought she was one of the hot sisters, got married to a soldier, but no, it wasn't her. She just had a very similar demeanor, very similar smile, and I just need to hear your opinion about the death scene and also the sex scene.
Okay, so she had a lot of sex scenes. Um,
Mhm.
that's all I have to say
Yeah.
about that.
I
Um,
just I just found it hilarious that like she was this brutally murdered. She was laying in the pool of her own blood, and those two were just banging in front of it,
yeah, the death scene. Oh,
covered in
oh,
her blood.
that sex scene. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
I know there
yeah.
was a lot in this show, but
But yeah, because she had a lot of sex scenes. The death scene was pretty amazing. I have to say, the first time that I watched it, I was like, "Oh, what the hell's going to happen here?" Right? And then everything happened all at once.
mm-hmm.
I was like, "Oh, they're going to kill Gaius, and this like we're going to be done with it." And nope, nope. Sure enough, Alethea comes in and kills Sepia.
If there ever was a place for Gaius to have a happy ending, I kind of cheered for him and Sepia to remain together. I thought they were kind of perfect for each other.
Oh, she like to me, she was the epitome of Roman filth.
That's why I
She
found her so hot.
her her voice is so
Beautiful.
disgusting.
A song to my ears.
She has that snobbish, I don't know what accent it's called, but
Sir actor.
yeah, it's just she can make every word just sound so arrogant and snobbish.
Mm-hmm. All right, sir. We're almost there. Season 3. And just so you know, this is basically screen grabs that I grabbed for my conversation with Ninja while I was watching the show, while we were just discussing things.
Yeah, so I
There were
even
also a few
have
Marvel penises, but I'm not showing those.
oh yeah, there's penises, there's prosthetic penises, like not the show made prosthetic penises, the Roman time prosthetic penises
Mm-hmm.
made of ivory in various carvings and bound together pieces and yeah, Aurelia. Ugh, yeah. By the time she died, it was past time because especially with how fickle she was. Because it was at the beginning of the season, she's like, "Oh, I love you, Spartacus. You're amazing, and you were great to my husband." And then she fucks up and blames it on Spartacus.
Yeah, she's the fucking worst. Like, I hated that so much that she couldn't freaking decide whether Spartacus was the best guy ever or whether he was the most evil guy ever, source of all her problems. Just fucking make up your mind and die.
And that was effectively her through the entire series. Was nothing was her fault. Everything was everyone else's fault.
Yeah. Ugh, it's the worst.
Yeah.
Well, let's cleanse our palate with one of the most badass characters this season, probably the badass one, and that was of course the old priest that hated Sula so much. And what was the quote that he made? You are the quote guy.
His name was Lucius Minucius.
very,
I think it was Minucius, right?
very rhythmic, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I will look up the
And
quote.
he was which one?
There
The
was
one
a
where he
lot
got
of
to
them.
piss on the Romans.
Oh yeah.
He when he did the subterfuge, it looked like they set it up to look like he was betraying Spartacus. He was going to go cash in on the bounty, and then effectively he got to go to Praetor Gaius, and or yeah, Praetor at that time, Gaius, and piss him off and taunt him and then be like, "You can't touch me because your wife will be dead if you do." He comes back and Spartacus is like, "Oh, thank you for risking your life for us and all this." And he's like, "Ha, worth it to get to piss on a praetor of Rome."
It was a great pleasure to piss in the face of a fucking praetor.
Yes,
Beautiful. Just he was never
he was
intimidated, even though he was basically facing his own death constantly.
he was classic because even his moment with Agron, when they first showed up and Lucius is going to kill them because it's his temple. Fuck off. He's lost everything. He doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
He'll kill one of them if they're going to kill him. And uh, Agron says something along the lines of, "You're going to trust this guy, a fucking Roman?" And Lucius turns around and says, "Oh, and what are you? Gall by the sounds of your manners."
Yeah.
And Agron's like, "I'm from east of the Rhine." And he's like, "I'm Agron of east of the Rhine." He's like, "I'm Lucius Minucius of Rome. Pleasure to make fucking acquaintance."
Yeah. It's just so nonsense. And I just love the fact that he was still able to show compassion for others, especially for Alethea, Yet he still didn't betray them, just because he was like morally conflicted. He still did the right thing, and he was smart. And I was kind of hoping that he would get more of a badass death than the one, but I guess he still helped them escape and stuff. And yeah,
He got killed by the Egyptian. So like the Egyptian was the bad guy badass. Like Asher would have even died 100 times over if the Egyptian wasn't there.
oh yeah.
So I mean, anyone who was carved down by the Egyptian got the most honorable death they could have this season.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
Except for Sedulus, obviously. He got killed by Spartacus.
Indeed. And because we only have 3 more minutes, we will not spend too much time discussing the
That Jello?
the Jello Man. It's such a funny fight scene. He's carrying a sword and he's like,
And you don't even see him fight. He just runs by with a sword. And
Yeah.
that was when Asher recruited his first guy, who I realized last night was another Syrian.
mm-hmm.
Because the guy who beats the shit out of him says, "Fucking Syrian."
Yes. My favorite part about the Jello Man is that he's so fat that you don't even see his penis.
Yeah.
He's naked.
They didn't need the prosthetic that time.
Yeah.
They just that's why he got hired. They saved on makeup.
Indeed. And speaking of absolute MVPs of the show, just this man bringing his chicken to a gladiator fight made me so happy.
Oh, I'm gonna kill you for meat later. So here, you get to see a gladiator show on your last day on the earth.
Yeah. Just like, at first I was like, why are these women just airing their boobs constantly, like showing them off for no reason? But this man, he was just like, I'm gonna put an end to this. I'm gonna bring my chicken. You're gonna see it. Just brought his cock.
It's like the modern day equivalent of people bringing funny hats to a hockey game to get on camera.
Well, Mr. Ninja, we only have 1 minute left. I will let you go. Thank you so much for joining me for the season 3 of this podcast. Unfortunately, and this is totally your fault. We will have to do another one for season 4 because I have a lot of opinions about that season. And
oh, absolutely.
Let's make it soon. We'll see if we can do it before Nordhaven launches, but if not, we can always do it afterwards. You just let me know when you have a time. We'll schedule something out. And yeah, thank you so much. You have a lovely rest of your day. And I'll see you around.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. And that's it for another episode of our podcast where me and Mr. Ninja discuss this lovely show, Spartacus. I actually wanted to freaking finish here, but Mr. Ninja has unfortunately other plans, and we of course took way longer than I expected, as always. So here we are, forced to do yet another episode, but I'm gonna be honest, I enjoy these so very much that I don't even mind. The main thing I understood is that almost every character seems to come from Pride and Prejudice. Yeah, that's all I ever wanted you to get as a takeaway, from this podcast. But yeah, it is a wonderful show. Ninja is such a knowledgeable person about this show, so please show him some love because he is the one who convinced me in the most gentle way possible to watch it, and I'm so happy because this show made me feel feelings I haven't even thought were possible to feel, and I think that you can feel them too if you give this show a chance. Definitely go check it out, stream it, download it, whatever you do, watch it. Even if you heard us talking about it, it's still very much worth it. We skipped over so many amazing things that make this show so wonderful. Like, there are so many amazing quotes. Blah feels my guts in. When we get to season 4, I don't wanna spoil like what I have planned for that last episode of this podcast, but my goodness, that show made me feel so many things. Ellie herself mentioned the last time she was here that she was unable to finish the show, and I totally understand why. It was just too much. But it was also so good that you kind of had to see it through all the way to the bitter end. And that end was very bitter. But it was one of those, sweet sorrow kind of things, and I enjoy those moments very much. So yeah, there you have it, folks. We are done with another podcast. But let us rejoice, because Nerdhaven will, of course, have the launch of Season 2 starting August 1st. We're almost there. 2 more days. Herald now? Well, I don't think so, P-Fund. I was defeated earlier today. Like, I don't think I have it in me. I could try, but I feel like it would just be another day of just me being defeated, by the difficulties of being a police officer. I don't think I have it in me. It's your birthday, really? Well, if it's your birthday, P-Fund, I will freaking fly to Germany and rise from a oversized cake like a stripper, like they do in the movies. Let me at least get to this scene. I don't want to watch the Jello Man anymore. Please don't. Okay. But yeah. Let's see. Let me switch over to this screen. I'm on screen share. I don't want you to see too many things. All right. I think this is where we will end it. I have plenty of more work that needs to be done on, of course, Nerdhaven for the season. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening to our lovely chat with Mr. Ninja. Yes, it is a lot of work. And I will see you guys around. Maybe tomorrow for some Herald, we will see. But if not tomorrow, definitely the day after that, because starting August 1, we will be streaming quite a bit. We have a lot of things to showcase. We have a lot of RP that will hopefully occur, and I'm so very excited to show it to you all, because I have been waiting for so freaking long. 3+ years for a similar season, and ever since Season 6, it was not that long ago, like one or 2 years ago. I have a lot of unfinished business on certain characters, ancient characters of mine at this point. And I also have a lot of commitments that I made to my beloved friends. One of them, of course, being Sin, who I promised after Season 3, when we were talking, about all the missed opportunities of Season 3, all the decisions that led to certain unfortunate developments, both on Season 3 and Season 6 on TO. I promised that man that one day, one freaking day, even if I have to, I will start the server, and we will have that damn Greek season, or season where we play the gods, and we will make up for it. We will do it our way. We will freaking have our dream come true. And thanks to the help of Sin, thanks to the help of all the other admins on Nerdhaven, both past and present, thanks to you guys, who are here to play, who are here to RP, who used to be here to RP, all of you who kept me sane and insane, both at the same time, throughout the years, who kept me going, who kept me interested in RP, all our lovely modders who created this wonderful, wonderful scene, for us to occupy and just bring our characters to flourish on. I am so freaking excited. Like, this season is... I feel like all my RP career led to this moment, to this season. And even though it wasn't easy getting there, even though there was a lot of things I really didn't want to experience, I feel like there is nothing that can stop me at this point. And I am just so very excited to RP on that season and to see you all there. So yeah, thank you guys again. I will see you very soon. Have a lovely rest of your day.